to beat.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dr. D, the fatherhood practitioner, CEO, and founder of Dad's Doing It. Today, we're at Famous Barbershop. I feel like the barbershop is the only place to talk about things I'm going to be talking about today. All right? I'm going to spin it around to Larry, the head barber here. We can introduce ourselves.
What's up, everybody? My name is Larry, barber here at Famous Barbershop, owner at Famous Barbershop. And here to talk about my experiences with fatherhood and lack of.
My name is Derek. I am the lead buyer agent for the TS Group Real Estate. I've known Larry, I've known Dee for
Long time.
Long time. So really appreciative of you inviting me down, and I'm happy to talk, fatherhood and everything parenthood.
Thank you for coming.
Anthony Oquendo from here featuring. This happened to be at the right time. So yeah, I got caught up here. I'm carpenter, remodeler, Oquendo's and Sons LCC. And here we are doing a chat that's much needed in between everybody, in between all men's. And we're looking forward to it.
My name is Jose. I'm one of the barbers here at Famous Barbershop. I'm here to tell you my experience of fatherhood. And that's all I got to say.
Yeah, man.
How's it going? My name is Thomas Hampton, fellow father, realtor as well. I'm all about supporting dads, especially dads who are out there fighting for their right to be involved in their kids' lives. Yeah, that's it.
So today the broad topic is fatherhood and how hard you should push your kids and your mentality that goes along with that. All right. I think there's no better place to do it than the barbershop. I'm here today with 5 awesome fathers, and we're going to kick off that conversation. I'm not sure who wants to dabble in that first.
I got a good question to start everything off for everybody. What is fatherhood to all of y'all? Like, what does it mean? What embodies that term for you guys? For me, it is the action more than anything. I don't think that father is like a person. I don't think father is a thing. I think it's like an action, the things that you do. Because there's, they got the term father figure.
Yeah.
A father figure, that's somebody who's really looking out for you in that way. So like for me, fatherhood is like the action. There's no money spent, there's the time invested. That's what
I think also too it's a decision. Mm-hmm. Because before you have a child, you're planning about, you got a girlfriend. Then from girlfriend, now sees you're engaged with her. Then you get married. Then you plan your plans and you plan to have a kid. So while you're planning to have a kid, you're also preparing yourself and teaching yourself, because that's what the problem with a lot of us, Spanish and Black, that were never taught.
Yeah.
And then none of them ever took an initiative either to learn.
Yeah.
So nobody was hungry to become a father, or you can see they never planned to be a father. Mm-hmm. It just happened. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of us get caught up in that. And a lot of us don't plan, a lot of us plan. A lot of us are too much, or us don't know too much, you know what I mean? So this is
But so you play, all right, let's say plan and not plan, but then when you have a baby. I know, like the first time I brought my daughter home from the hospital, I got 5. I got 3 boys and I got 2 girls. The first time I brought my daughter home from the hospital, she was my first one. Like, fatherhood scared me. Yeah. Like, my daughter's crying, my wife is crying because get emotional at that time, and I didn't know how to be a father. So I did the coward thing. I put my daughter down. I left the house. Like, I went on an extended vacation back to live with my grandparents because I didn't know how to do this. And then somebody got to me, they were like, you're doing generational things that happen in your family. You need to break that generational curse. and then after things started to magically happen once that was released. So father to me is being present,
Yeah.
not presence. That's a part of it, but being present for the good, for the bad times and for the good times.
My daughter
and holding hands.
My daughter just hit me with that one. I'd be like, I'd be at home all the time.
Yeah.
You're
But
just
be
present.
present.
Oh, I was like, what is that guy?
Man.
Yeah.
Man.
So it's eye opening because now when your child's recognize that you're just at home, you're not really doing anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they're tired, because you're tired, whatever the case may be. But they also, if your mindset is open enough to, man, I go to my 19-year-old for advice when I'm struggling. Like, I don't think there's an age frame. After you've done taught your children your values, your beliefs, they're gonna grab onto that and they're gonna hold on to it just like mom and dad does because that's what they see.
Yeah.
And so you train somebody just like you to be just like you. You can always go to that somebody to talk to, no matter the age.
So I think I'm not sure if somebody else want to chime in on this, but how far do you push your kids when you're guiding? Because you say you teach them things, but what if they're not grabbing hold of it and ushering along?
Well, before
how
we-
hard do you push?
Yeah, I want to piggyback for what fatherhood is to me because I'm 28 years old. I'm probably the youngest kid. Well, aside from him, the youngest kid in here. I had my son at 20 years old. So for me, I looked at my son coming into the world, helping me become the biggest leader that I can be. Because similar to what you said about action, I look at fatherhood as leading by example, right? Your kids are a reflection of what you've taught them and who you are. So that's kind of what put the pressure on me to be like, well, I got to step my game up now. I got to be aware. And I'm so driven to make sure I'm not recreating those cycles, that being present, taking action, making sure they are having experiences with mom and dad going back and forth, or there are arguments there, because that's real life, right? But showing the resolution.
Yeah.
So for me, fatherhood is leading by example. It's being the example. We understand that at a certain age, your kids are going to take the direction they want to go in, but doing the best that you can do to show them, those core values and making sure they carry on that, throughout life. So for me, it's leading by example.
Yeah.
Me personally, when it comes to the pushing, it's just like he said. It's something that you just gotta let them try. You just gotta let them try certain things. Well, we obviously know what's good and what's bad. We're not kids. So it's about letting them experience this. And it's like when I tell my kids, this is the choice that we have during the week. You do this this week, and next week we change it around. Somebody else does something different. So whoever doesn't do their task, well, obviously now I have to come in and teach them, like, we have rules, and at this time and we want this done.
Yeah.
It has to be done because we're a team and we have to work together to maintain our home with all the sicknesses and the viruses and all this stuff. We don't want dirty plates and dirty house. So we teach them these things, but at the same time, when they don't do them, sometimes it's not that they don't want to do them, it's that they don't know how to do them.
Yeah.
And we gave them something,
Yeah.
and they don't even know how to do it.
I think that's,
But we're doing it to see what they're capable of. Well, I do it to see what they can actually get done. And then whatever they can't get done, I go help them. But even though they don't know how to do it, I'm still going to go help them. Even if they're still over there like, oh, I don't know how to do this. And I ain't going to go to dad because if we could, I go back to dad, he's going to tell me what they're going on.
Yeah.
Usually like when I see my kids like, let's say, taking out the trash, right? So he'll go and take out the trash, and all of a sudden, he leaves a couple things behind. So I have to be like, wait a second, wait, you forgot this and this and this. So that way, next time when he gets back to doing the trash or even dishes or whatever, he already knows what to do.
I feel like the pushing nowadays in the generation that we live right now, I feel like push them to thrive. It's okay to be successful, have a good life, but there's so much more than that. You know what I mean? Like, I can get offered $5,000 to do a job today, right? I won't go do it if I know something at home is lacking.
Yeah.
Because those things are more valuable to me than the actual $5,000. Even though man, $5,000 right now, I can use that.
Right.
But then you look at the lack at home, and things are out of place, and then you're wondering what's more important: do I spend the time in my house and fix my house instead of going out and make that money? Because that's the problem that we're having now. Life is getting so hard to live. Everybody's stressed out. Nobody can vent like this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Nobody can tell the true feelings because we leave this. They talking about us but at least we're doing it live. So you know what I mean? Ain't gonna hear it. So there ain't gonna be no talking about this or talking about that person. So this is a good thing.
Yeah.
You know what I
You know, I
mean?
see what you just said about, you know, taking it like, you know, what you're gonna give up to do X, Y, and Z, but there's a saying out there, always keep the main thing, right? Family's always supposed to be the main thing, you know what I'm saying? So I like that.
I really, now this generation, I don't push too much of my children because and I'm gonna speak spiritual because I'm spiritual and everything I do is spiritual. So
Appreciate that, amen, man. Absolutely.
my kids, I know that they're if they're not in that place of peace that God gives, you know what I mean, that they're gonna be struggling with some stuff. Because even if you're not a believer, I bet you guys get bad thoughts all the time. I bet you we're good people, but bad thoughts cross our mind every day. You know? And we so good that we know what's good and bad. So all right, that wasn't that great, but that came to my mind. Some people just sit on it, and that's the worst thing. But most of us, we just brush it off because we're not in that mindset. You know what I mean? It crossed our mind, but we're not in that mindset, so we just brush it off. But they struggle with a lot. They struggle with a lot with identity because
So mental health is so prevalent.
yeah,
right?
and then
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's just the times, to be honest. I think people say since they took God out of church, no, because before they would put God in church, they were at home, and you as mother and father, if that's what you believe, you teach them that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's how I am. And I mean, I was the craziest menace. I got. And I put it out there. I got, man, he keep probably go to the record and find out who I was. You know what I mean? But it's been 11 years. And one day I had a big stack of money. I'm doing my thing. My son comes, he's 6 years old. He's 19 right now. He's 6 years old when he came up to me. He says, Dad, what's all that money? And I says, I never lied to my children. It destroys me. I always said I'll never lie to my children. That day I had to lie to my son. And ever since that day, something in me, I got sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I didn't want to continue to do that to my son. I didn't want. It was only one lie, but it was one lie that I ended quick.
Yeah.
Because I left that life behind. I left that life behind, and I made a choice. And ever since I made that choice and that decision, no matter how high water comes, this is how we rolling, whether you like it or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I got my kids on a. They know what time it is. It's tough.
I think there's a lot of truth to what you're saying, just as far as finding their motivation, right? And for you and the family, that's spiritual, right? And that's awesome. I don't have as much of a spiritual connection to motivate my kids. But at the same time, you hit on it about, them not knowing like what to do. I tell my kids all the time, it's probably hard being my child, right? Because I push. At the end of the day, the question was how hard do you push your kids? I push hard.
Yeah,
I really do, because that's what I grew up with. And, the thing that I was thinking about as you guys were talking about, your upbringings and how you had to unlearn and, figure out how to do the fatherhood thing on your own, which is absolutely commendable, and it's like I know that I'm fortunate, I grew up in a whole family and I had good role models growing up.
Me too. I had good role models.
And that was a really big piece of who I am. But on the flip side, when I talked about my dad, the first thing he said was he's a great dude.
Yeah.
That's what everybody says, right? And so I have had those expectations of living up to my father for my entire life, and it's not a bad thing, right? But it's really tough.
It's tough when you don't get to speak with your father.
Yeah, well, not even that, but I mean, just like everybody knew my dad, and he was a great dude, and but that. Oh, you're JJ's kid.
Yeah,
right?
living up to the hype.
Yeah.
And I think that's where a lot of people, not to cut you off, I think that's where like a lot of people go wrong is living up to that expectation when you already have that expectation in your stare.
Yeah.
That's you. But I'm sure when people look at you, they see your father.
Yeah.
So expectation, that's completed.
Yeah.
Now, what we have to learn as people is we take that, bring it up a notch, so that our son
Yeah.
bring it up a notch.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? My son tells me all the time, like, Daddy, when I get older, I want to be just like you. He's only 6, but I tell him, like, I want you to be better than me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Not in a bad way. I'm not no fucking, excuse me, but I'm not no, like, you know, this crazy guy or nothing, but just be better.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm chilling. I got a nice family, got a little business, you know, kids is good. I want you to be better.
Yeah.
You know, have a
100%.
bigger family, have a
Yep.
bigger business, and bigger kids, or whatever the case may be.
Yep.
But just whatever you see in me, be better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
He's
I'm
only
not,
gonna- he's
I'm
only
not
gonna-
the cap.
He's only gonna get there with you.
May I comment
Right.
on that?
Yeah, yeah.
Because, you know, throughout my, 8 years of parenting, I've heard a lot of parents say that. Even, my mom says that all the time. I want you guys to be better than me, do better, and all these things.
Do you, not to cut you off, I'm sorry, but do you, when she says that, do you take it as like, she's speaking on the negative aspect or just all around? Because that's where it gets confused. Because I know, like, when I hear it too, I hear like, oh, you want me to be better than you? Damn, then
Well, I'll give you
what
an
are you
example.
lacking in? You know
I'll
what
give
I'm
you an
saying?
example. My mom, I'm the oldest of 4, including myself. I have 2 younger brothers and one younger sister. And all I was told is go to school, get good grades, go to college, get a degree. And that was what was preached to me, because that is not. My mom had me at 16 years old. We were in a little home for women who have single parent kid. For the first 2 years of my life. Then I grew up in Green Acres for 15. So, my mom wanted me to do much better. She wanted me to get an education, do all those things. So, I think that's what she meant but that's what her vision was of success, right?
Yeah. Yeah, right on.
So, to live up to that expectation or have to achieve that. And I went to college for 3 months and then I dropped out. And then she didn't like me anymore. So, and that was tough for me because she was my number one supporter. But, we got over that. But what I'm trying to get at is, me being a parent now in the leadership role, if I want Noah, my son, to do better than I am, I have to constantly be on the journey of growth.
Yes.
Because he can only
Yeah.
get as high as I'm willing to grow.
Your perspective.
Because I am the example,
Yeah.
right? So
So you don't even gotta speak it. You just gotta be it.
exactly. So, for an example, one thing I do with Noah is I know the type of struggles I had. So, and I know I struggled in school sometimes, learning and stuff like that. So what I do with Noah is we keep a strict routine, and this is where we go into the conversation of pushing our kids. We have a strict routine. He does all his homework, his chores, and everything, and he earns his time on the TV and the tablet and all those things. Because once it comes time to high school, when they're making their own decisions, before he goes out with friends, it's like, oh, let me get my stuff ready and get done, right? So for me, I put pressure on Noah, but I also respect his boundaries.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is we could
That's a tough balance. That's a tough balance.
It is a tough balance, but it's a real thing.
Yeah.
Because if we're pushing our kids, and this is just my perspective, if I'm pushing Noah to do something and be someone or go down a journey he doesn't, now he's become miserable.
Yeah.
Now he's not going to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Now he's building a different vision of really what this whole purpose is for. Now we're having that conversation when he's 25 and I'm 45, and I'm saying, I wanted the best for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Dad, you didn't listen to me
Yeah.
and what I wanted to do.
See, I think I'm dealing with that right now with my son. He's 11 years old. I think he's going to be a good basketball player, so I try to put him in the right circles. But I don't know how hard to push him because I see talent in him.
Yeah.
And people that he's been around also see talent. And I think because I've been pushing so hard, I've broken some relationships with a few people that were coaching him. And I don't know how hard to go sometimes, And I just say, okay, I see talent, but how hard do I push? Because I don't want to have that conversation in 5 years.
Did you ask him what do you want?
Yeah, I asked him, and he said, "Yeah, Dad, this is what I want to do. I want to go to the league. I want to play there. Okay."
But are you, as a father, when you're looking at him, because you can tell when a kid is just saying it because he wants to make a father proud?
Yeah.
Or he's saying it because he really wants it?
I think he's saying it because he really wants it, but I also don't know if he knows what it takes. And that's the balance. Like,
Yeah.
do I
They
keep
don't know.
pushing because I want to show him what it takes,
Yep.
or do I just kind of step back a little bit and let him figure it out on his own? Then I go back and say, that's fatherhood. I'm supposed to be showing.
I
May I
always,
comment on that?
I always push them to the break. I always push my kids to the break point. But when they break, I'm there to build them up again.
Yeah.
And tell them like this is part of it. You're gonna break. You're gonna fall. You're gonna fail. It's how we're gonna get back up again.
Yeah.
Are you still interested in this?
Yeah.
After the fall, if you're still interested, let's keep on going at it. But if you're not interested, fine. Like I give you the opportunity.
I've had those, man. I've had those breaking points where, like, you said, Dad, I can't run no more. I can't run no. Start shaking. Like, okay, you're at your breaking point now. You know what I'm saying? But he keeps going. You know what I'm saying? So like that's why I think
And
he
also
wants
you,
it.
you test them how much they how. That's where you're gonna come and be like, oh, now I know how much to push my
Yeah.
kids. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Because I've pushed my kids to stress, to anger, to everything. You name it, I've pushed them to everything. But now I know my boundary. I
Yeah.
know the boundary, like he was saying. I've also placed a boundary where how much to push, and I even sometimes tell my wife, "Hon, I think it was a little harsh. I think we gotta talk about this, and then we gotta go
Yeah.
to the night."
I think an important part too is asking questions.
Yes.
Right. Now I know it's just through conversation, but I think it builds a great bond between father and son because it's having that important conversation. So for an example, Noah has told, I ask him, here and there what he wants to be when he grows up. Right. He's 8 years old, so he'll say whatever. But I continue to do that because once I'm in the position you are, whether he's playing basketball or soccer or whatever it might be, and he's saying that he wants to get to the league. Then I take the time to say, okay, well, to get to the league takes these actions.
X, Y, and Z. Yeah.
Now, if that is what you're willing to do, this is what we got to do. Now, your actions will reflect your result. So are we going to work together to get here? Because the reason why I say that is because anytime they're trying to slack or they don't want to put in the hard work, it's like, oh, well, your big vision is the league.
Yeah, strategic vision. Yeah,
This is what we're working toward.
Yeah.
Now we're talking about goals. Now we're talking about vision. Now we're talking about habits. Now we're talking about taking action, right? Now the biggest part for me, and I've always kept true to my heart with Noah, is I do it with him.
Yeah.
Right? Ever since he was 3 years old, we were at the park. I'm jumping around with him. I'm doing all types of things with him. I'm doing it with him, right? And I bet when you're practicing with your son, you're right there on the court.
My big ass get tired though, man.
Yeah, I bet.
They're coming out of full shift of work.
Yeah, man.
Exactly.
Get out of here.
And that's the thing, and that's the thing I have to recognize too, is that when I was younger, I was let down because there were things that were said that were going to be done that never got done.
Yeah.
So for me,
Yep.
keeping your word is important. That's also something I learned from my dad. But also, it's the example part, right? If we're practicing basketball, we're hustling. He sees you're pushing yourself hard and things like that. So it's being there. It's also being present, but it's also doing the work with them,
Yeah.
right? And I think that goes far beyond the whole success and the person you are. It's that bond that between he can trust to speak with you, or he can go to dad to talk or go play or whatever it might be. Like for me, it's all about the action, and
Yeah.
we will get tired. I'm tired after work all the time too, but if I'm gonna make the excuse not to be there, I can't get mad at where he ends up in the next 10 years if I keep making excuses not to be there.
Yeah.
So sometimes we, as fathers, we work hard, we take care of our family, we provide protection. Then we also have to make sure that we're not, lacking in.
There's so much
being
more
a
to
good
fatherhood than what we was taught.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I've been on a journey for the last 10 years. I've been on a journey to the straight up exploring other ways, listening to other people, going, seeking advice from people that have children that my children's age. I'm always seeking advice, always seeking counsel, always seeking advice. I take it all. I don't use it all, but I take it all. You know what I mean? And
This is what
in
these
my
things
own
are for
belief
right
and my
here.
own value, I apply as I have to. But it's a journey. It's a tough journey.
Yeah.
Bringing children into this world it's not easy. You gotta be prepared. You gotta have a plan. You gotta nowadays it's so difficult. This last year has been the most difficult financial for me because I got 6, I got building, got business, got a whole bunch of stuff, and all this inflation got me I think I needed this. I think that's why I'm here. You know what I mean? Because we usually don't talk about this. We usually don't have nobody to talk about, because I talk to my wife, yeah, but there's only certain things I can talk to my wife.
Different
Because-
perspective.
Yeah,
Different perspective.
yeah. But it's always good to talk to her too, because I can see her perspective.
Yeah.
And know how far I can go. Sometimes I've gone too far.
We all have,
I
man.
just made a hole for myself.
Yeah, we all have.
But this journey of fatherhood is you're gonna go through a bunch of feelings. You're gonna go through sadness. You're gonna go through happiness. You're gonna go through everything. It's a journey. It's just like as we're living life. Every day we're learning something new. Every day we're interested in something new. Every day we're figuring out new things. So everything's just a big journey. What's the value behind this journey? What you value the most in this journey? And it's just like you were saying, family is a priority.
Keep
so
the main thing the main
that's
thing.
that's the value. That's, you know what I mean. What we've been able to create for ourselves. Because in reality, yeah, God did it all, but He used us to make all this stuff. You know what I mean? And it's just a blessing, a curse. You can name whatever you want to name it, but it's one hell of a journey. It's one hell of a journey for men, because men, we don't talk a lot. We just get it done.
We don't, and I think a very important thing to speak about too, especially in an environment like this, is that I see a lot of times our role is talked down about all the time.
Oh yeah.
You know, I've been told many times my role is not important, right? Because there's always a narrative that, you know, the women, the
In
mom.
my house, they
is
think
number
that
one.
mommy comes first. No, dad comes first.
Oh yeah, oh my goodness.
Dad comes first.
Oh my goodness. My son.
I bring him to the Bible real quick. I say, Jesus, sir, He created man before woman, and then He took the rib of the man to make the woman. And that's how I go.
Hey,
You can't beat me on my gospel.
with the James Brown in the background a little bit.
And the King James. Ready to drop it. But yeah.
You know, you're right about that. It's like, you know, like it was, and people are talking about it more and more now. But like, people are looking at fatherhood as like not an important role, and they're saying like I said, there's no value behind fatherhood. Well, now we know with years of research coming out, more than years, like coming out, they're saying like father role is important. Father's presence makes a huge difference in the household. I just reading something the other day about there's a correlation between kids that don't have father figures and aggression, right? Kids that don't have father figures in their life, right, have more aggression, right?
More
And then they started looking at that. I'm like, of course we make a difference, man. You know what I'm saying? Father figure, whatever role you fit, we make a difference.
You just need both
Yeah.
to raise a child. You need both. You need the love and the compassion, and you need the structure and the responsibility and the, you know what I mean. How do you build a man? You know what I mean. You build him strong, healthy, smart. You know what I mean. So I believe you need both, because us as fathers, I give love. I show love to my kids all the time.
Yeah, you have to.
But I structure them more than what I give them love.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? My job is to prepare you for the world. Someday you're gonna leave my side, and if you're not prepared, you're gonna end up back in my house real quick. And I ain't trying to have that. You know what I mean? I took care of you for all these years.
I'm going through
I
that
let
right
you.
now.
I let you stay as long as you wanted. You stay till 30. Like you gotta go now.
I'm going through that right now.
Going through that right now?
Yeah, my son was living in Jacksonville. My son was living in Jacksonville. You know, he's 18 years old. He thinks he knows what to do.
Well, this was.
So I'm like, all right, you think you're a man? Okay. Go ahead, move on. Go to Jacksonville and go with your girlfriend and whatever. So he does that. 6 months later, comes back home.
A place like home. He still needs some training.
Dad, what's in the refrigerator?
I said, you know what? I'm your dad. I'm not gonna keep you out in the street. You're more than welcome to come to my house.
But now you come
But
back.
just
now you gotta
remember
pay some
this,
rent.
though. Just remember this. Just remember this, though. You got some chores to do in this house. You're not gonna be laying around. You're not gonna be playing PlayStation all the time. You're gonna do your chores or whatever. You're gonna find a job, save money. That's that.
Yeah.
And you're not gonna come to my house at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Respect the house.
You're gonna be here at 9 p.m. That's it.
The scary part
It doesn't bother. I told her it doesn't bother me. You go out with your friends or whatever. On the weekends. Yeah.
This,
But on the weekdays.
no matter how much, I believe that no matter how much you you put work with your children to teach them the best, because of the world we live in, they're always gonna encounter bad stuff.
Something, yeah.
Yeah, you can't hide. You can't. It's
So
you know, like you
elections
said.
have to
It's
go through.
yeah. It's that preparation piece. You know, like initially, I wanted to, you know, hide, and I think everybody
Shelter.
has a piece. Yeah, like
I do it all the
shelter
time.
Piece,
Yeah.
And there's, you know, part of you grew up in versus, you know, what I had. You know, it's different, right? And I feel that there's a strength that you guys have that I don't have, in you know, inertly. But I do feel that, you know, I have a tendency to over shelter, right? So my inner Derek says that I don't want, you know, obviously anything to happen to my kids. Right?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
every day.
Yeah.
But what I get in trouble, and it's not even trouble, but like what I have to fight, you know, and what I have to work through mentally is that exposure piece, right? And like, I think there's a difference between preparing your kids for like the real world and having, you know, the awesome conversation before we started rolling. It's like, get up, right? Like, there was like some of the stuff that leaves your mouth as a parent is ridiculous. 'Cause there was a time where I was like, oh my God, like no more Band-Aids. No one gets any Band-Aids in the house because like we're just running through. But it's because it's like, you know, and my daughter's 9, my son is 6, and so especially my 6-year-old, like he's 6, right? And he not only that, but he grew up during COVID. So like it was like, here's a tablet for 2.5 years.
Yeah.
Like I gotta go
Yeah.
do work downstairs. I'll see you in a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's because I'm a tough parent to begin with, and because I don't really baby the kids, and because we did leave them, you know, on their own, like a lot of parents did, you know, for a couple years. It's hard to step back and realize, oh shit, right? He's a 6-year-old who's still trying to figure out the world and genuinely doesn't know like next steps. And so that only perpetuates my fear of the sheltering, because it's like, wow, like,
Yeah, I'm fighting that right now.
Yeah,
Because
you
of
really-
COVID,
you
I'm
really
fighting
don't know.
taking away the phones, or now you only have 1 hour on the phone, and you know what I mean. Once you do this and this, then it's this, and then you go into bed, no phone after that.
I think that's a byproduct. I don't think that's just parenting, right? Like I think the technology piece is just a byproduct of society, you know, where
yeah,
it's-
well, they're eventually
We're-
they need to learn this now, because the world we're going into is nothing but that.
Yeah, there's that piece, but I was talking more about the, you know, we started with the earning piece, right? Like we used to have a system where the kids earned, and then it became all about, it wasn't about the mission and the task and the chore and building, you know, better values and learning responsibility. It became about what can I do quickly to get the talent.
This.
So it's like, and then we were like, no, well, we can't do this. But then it's like, well, I still have to get stuff that I have to do because I'm always on, you know, because of my profession. This is just kind of easier, right? And I think everybody in this room has at one point said, I don't feel like dealing with this right now.
Yeah,
Here's the
yeah,
tablet,
yeah.
like,
Especially in grocery store.
yeah,
Yeah.
like I'll see you in a
I don't
little
even
bit.
take them to the grocery store.
Nah, we go
I
shopping
do, I
as
do,
a family.
I do that with my granddaughters.
And
They
it's
will
like,
never get out of that place.
yeah, but you know, so for me, and this is just a really long way of saying, you know, that piece of getting them out into the real world, like telling them like I'm not picking you up, you need to get back up. All of those things that I just talked about, like sort of filter into how hard am I pushing, right? To the crux of your conversation. Because we are a society that
I see where you're
is
going with that, yeah.
more just softer, right? It's a
Oh, yeah.
softer society, but that's not a bad thing. I don't mean softer in the stereotypical like,
It's like more
you
offensive.
can't give you know show your emotions. That's not what I mean by softer. What I mean by softer is that there's less physical contact because we're all behind screens. Like there's less people getting up and doing things. There's less people building with their hands, right? Being in your field
Yeah,
of actually
yeah.
getting out there and building houses,
Too
etc.
much convenience.
Yeah, there's too much convenience. So that's what I mean by soft. Like I'm all about, like I said, compassion, emotions, like therapy. That's all me. That's all like what we do in our household.
And emotions, yeah.
I think we're soft because everything is too convenient for us as a society.
So the society and the
We're more
environment
comfortable.
has made our children a little less, I don't want to say less, but a little different from how we were raised.
Yeah, and I think that plays into
How hard you should push
yeah,
them.
because I think one of the
I think where parents really got, sorry to interrupt you, I feel like where parents really got scared, and that's why we became a little bit more softer, is when the government took over and started to tell us what we can do and cannot do with our children. Some were going far with it, like parents would hit children like beyond. And we, my parents used to spank me just to let me know what time it was. There's parents so that they had to put that restriction because there was parents literally killing their children.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Through beatings. You know what I mean? So they put that restriction, and by putting that restriction, it was helping some, but it's harming the ones that are actually doing it the right way.
See,
so now we stopped doing it because we're scared of going to jail. Now I ain't gonna even touch my son because the children are telling the parents now, I'm gonna call the police.
So now in Massachusetts, the law actually allows a parent to discipline their child. You just can't take it too far, right? So the law allows for you to correct your son, correct your daughter, just a matter if it's reasonable.
Oh, I
You know what I'm
corrected
saying?
my daughter one time.
No, but everybody didn't receive it in the same way. Is my point. You know, what I
Yeah.
mean? Everybody didn't receive that when it first was given out. Like, you know what I mean? Now you can't touch your children because DCF. So everybody got that. They didn't get it from the same source, but everybody got it.
Yeah.
Got the point that they ain't playing with this. So now we ain't gonna touch our kids.
Especially the kids, because the kids, like you said, are the ones that to throw those little threats that I'll call the police, or
Tantrums.
I'll call the service. But what they need is parents like how we used to have, like, go ahead, call them. They're gonna call
They
me.
go to
I'm gonna
phone.
whip- I'm gonna whip you and the police.
We're gonna pass the belt to the cop.
I'm gonna beat you and the DCF worker. Go ahead,
You know
call
what's
them.
interesting about all of that though? Because why do we as parents feel like we need to resort to violence or hitting our
Sometimes
kids,
it's
right?
necessary.
I understand that because in my mind, right? So I got whooped at as a kid.
Yeah, I got told too a few times.
I've gotten to some physical fights with my mom. Like it was a pretty violent household. So what I've learned through that, though, I remember being in psychology in high school and actually learning that because of the temper tantrums and the aggression, punching holes in walls and fighting and all of that came from a lot of how I was taught how to communicate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because when I was listening to my mom scream downstairs, fighting or whatever it might be, or fighting amongst each other, I was learning. That was me. That was my 11-year-old self. That was my 10-year-old self. That was my 5-year-old self learning. This is how we communicate. Well, this is how I handle my emotions.
Yeah.
So now when I'm out in the real world, maybe I'm not getting my way, or I'm getting super upset about a certain situation. Now I'm getting violent.
Yeah.
So the thing is that like I was raised that way, so I can see both sides of the coin, right?
Yeah.
But I've learned the long-term repercussions of that.
Jail, prison, graveyard.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And just think about, well, just from what I've shared in my past, like my dad's been in and out of jail his whole life, right? All violent, So for me, I was like, dang, I don't want to become like that. I was also a motivator. So all I'm trying to say is that I think it's good that we resorted away from that because our kids are paying attention. That's how they handle their emotions.
Yeah.
And it forces us as parents who came from backgrounds like that to figure
level
out like, okay, well, I feel like getting violent right now. I'm frustrated.
Yeah.
But now the reflection is not, the problem's not them. It's something that's happening with me. I need to figure this out.
Can I interject?
Yeah.
So, for me growing up, no stranger, I tell everybody this. I used to get my ass beat all the time. Whether if it was overboard or I deserved it. Most of the time, I don't think I deserved it as bad. I used to get my ass beat, right? So, I feel like as a grown man, I'm a very humble person. You know what I'm saying? Like, I carry myself in a respectful way. You know what I mean? So raising my kids, I'm like, I want to raise my kids better. One thing for me growing up, it used to be like, and I'm sure you know, you guys know, having Puerto Rican moms and shit, that if you speak back to your moms, you catching the knuckles to the teeth.
Stop running.
Yeah.
If you think, listen, if you think about speaking back to your moms, you catching knuckles to your teeth. It's like, how did she even know I was thinking that? Right?
Yeah.
So, growing up, I used to be like afraid to express myself. If my mom was inaccurate in something, then I'm just gonna be wrong and she gonna be right. You know what I'm saying? Because if I correct her, knuckles to the teeth, right? But raising my kids, I'm like, yo, I want to raise them better. I want my kids to be like, whatever's on your mind, you speak it. As long as you're respectful, you're not disrespectful. But, you know, don't be afraid, like how I was with my parents, afraid to just even, hey, your shoes are tied. You know what I'm saying? Whatever it is. But I feel like, and forgive me, my kids, you see this however many years from now, but I feel like trying to raise them better and give them that better upbringing, I feel like my kids are like spoiled rotten.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you,
But that's not what we
you don't get what you want, and now you feel the need to psst, and tell me how you feel about it. Like, ho, I know that I want you to have the freedom of speech, but you know what I'm saying? Like, so I just like, where's that fine line to giving them a better
I gotta bring
upbringing?
it down a notch.
But you still want them to have the same values of you. Now, let's all like backtrack for a minute. In order to give the kids our same values, they're gonna have to go through the
same
same
things.
shit we went through. So now we're at a standstill because
I
we
want
want
that to happen though. I want that to happen.
We want to give them better. We want to give them
They're not gonna
more.
go. They're gonna go through something similar, but not
Right.
the
No,
same.
I don't.
You know what I'm saying?
It'll always be a little bit better.
You know what?
Not so
I'll
much.
respectfully disagree with that. The only reason being is because, you know, we, us men here, had to go through what we went through, our journey, to become who we are today.
Yeah. I feel you on that.
So, and through our journey, through struggle, challenge, we learn, we grow. It's growth, right? So, for our kids to repeat or experience the same things we experience,
Just 'cause we're not growing.
what was all that growth for, right? And I look at it as levels, right?
That's a good point.
I look at it as levels because I agree. My son is spoiled AF too. You know what I mean? So and he is way much better of a person than I was at 8 years old. So
Right.
I see it as a level where he's in a stage where I had never experienced. Right? He can express himself. He can cry. He's allowed to do that. He can do that. I wasn't allowed to do that. But now he's at a level where it's totally different from my experience. But now our growth through that journey, who we are today, has allowed us to guide them through this new level they're at.
Yeah.
Right? Because if we were the same person through that journey and you didn't grow, but your kids have better than what you had before, they're going to experience the same things you experienced because you did not grow through that journey.
That's a good point.
Now, I know I'm getting a little too deep here, and
That's
I
a good
tend to do
point.
that sometimes,
Nice
but
deep.
That's a good
I
point.
kinda-
That's a good point.
you know, that's kind of how I help understand a little bit about, you know, my parenting with Noah. It's like he's in a much better position than I was at 8. Not that I had it like super horrible or anything, but you know, he has his emotional support that I didn't have. All my growth has put me in the position now to help
Got it.
him
Yeah.
become much better.
Yeah.
And where we came from, you know. So, go ahead. Yeah.
To piggyback off
I like that.
both of yours, because
Yeah, me too.
there was a huge struggle, you know, to the point of like I was speaking to a therapist on that exact topic. Like,
See, that's another thing. We don't talk to therapists, man.
no, we don't.
Like, got men, like men itself, like we don't do this. We need to start doing that.
What?
It's needed, yeah.
Do we necessarily need to talk to a therapist, or do we need to get together and have our own therapy?
This is a sense of
How much did it
Yeah,
cost
this is.
for us to come in here and speak our minds and do our things? And you know what I'm saying? And I'm sure when we leave, we're gonna have a sense of fulfillment, whatever it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That we got off of our chest, or
Yeah.
maybe we helped
Yeah.
somebody.
Even
And I'm not
different
saying
points of
therapy
view.
is bad for, you know, if you feel like you need therapy, you need it. But I also feel like people should explore, you know, if you feel the need to talk and get something off your chest, find somebody that you're close to, that you trust, or that, you know, you could just talk to like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, sometimes I don't understand why people feel the need to open up. And again, this is not against nobody who does therapy, but you know, you're opening up to people who don't really know you personally. You know what I'm saying?
That's the
so
point.
the help that they're the help that they're gonna give you is like a standard help versus somebody who knows you, that like they can tell you certain
see your point.
things.
But that's not how
Those both ways.
but no,
Because what is therapy though? Is it
therapy? So
it's just talking and getting your
Yeah.
So it's not
Exactly.
the person that you're talking to.
but that person's mate.
He's figuring out your problem as you're talking to him.
Somewhat.
Would you say-
I've sat in a few therapy sessions and it's like,
You know what? I installed my dishwasher through YouTube. You're gonna let me come redo your house? Like, no. You know what I mean?
maybe if you're good.
But I'm not through YouTube. You know what I mean?
If you cheaper
But you know, my
I get
point
your point,
is,
though. I do.
it's like so if and to let me take a step back. I do that as well. I have my boys who I talk to, right, and confide in on different things and different subjects, and it's all great. And a lot of the conversations, they give me their honest opinion. That's why I go to them, right? Like they're not going to tell me what I want to hear. They're going to tell me what I need to hear.
Right.
Exactly. But at the same time, it's like sometimes I just want somebody who doesn't know me to that level, and also, and more importantly, I can tell you this: I need a solution. I need a structured solution. Excuse me, on how to get out of this feeling. I feel like this. I don't know why I feel like this. I don't want to feel like this. I don't know how to get out of this. My boy's not gonna tell me how to do that. My boy's not gonna give me those structured steps and say, hey, listen, this feeling that you're having, 1 million people across this planet are also having the same feeling, right? Here's what you do. Try this, try this, try this. Talk to me in 2 weeks. And I feel better, right? And it's on me. And this actually goes into the pushing, and it goes into the physicality, right, and the spoiledness of these kids. It's like it's a trade-off for me. It's a trade-off, right? Because it's like I grew up. I didn't get my ass whooped every day, but I knew what a belt was, and so you know to have that feeling of my kids aren't listening. My initial response.
It works.
Yeah,
It works.
my initial response is to to like the anger gets there, and like I just want to backhand my kids like right in the mouth. Like that's my initial response. But I feel, and again, this is just me, I think it's lazy. I think it's the easy way out.
Or is it learned behavior?
Well, no, it is, but that learned what we went through. If you know better, you do better. I feel really good about that.
Yeah.
My Angelo.
I feel a lot of people when we were growing up, like our parents didn't have access to a lot of the stuff that we have access to on how to be better, right? And even if their scenario, even if they did, like that scenario is what we knew. That doesn't mean I can't change or do something differently, right? So just because we grew, I mean, come on, like how many instances can we say, oh, that's how it's always done, right? Like that's never
Status
ever,
quo.
it's
Yeah.
never been a good thing, you know, in society. So when I have those initial feelings, my initial reaction is to and I've never laid a hand on either of my kids. I pinched them. and you know, and I may have grabbed a little too hard at times.
Yeah, I've done that too.
But you know, I've never laid my hand on my kids.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, there are things that I do now, like square breathing, right? Like 4 seconds in,
Mindfulness.
pause, right? A lot of stoicism, a lot of mindfulness, right? A lot of working on myself. So all of those things were like stupid at first. Like, this is not gonna work. Like my kid is not going to listen to me if I pause when I'm just asking him to turn off the damn TV.
Yeah.
Right? There's no time for a negotiation. This is not a talking.
It's a
point.
dictatorship right now. Let's do
Right.
it.
And so it's the balance, right? But for the most part, I have found that I've trusted, and my wife is so instrumental in how I've gotten better as a parent.
My wife as well.
With her
Absolutely.
patients.
Absolutely.
Talking to them in a normal tone and walking away. And I'm like, even as I'm doing it, I'm like, this ain't gonna work, this ain't gonna work, this ain't gonna work.
And it worked.
This ain't gonna work. It worked. You know, and I'm not perfect. I still blow up all the time. Like I still lose my shit all the time on my kids. But you know, it's gone back to what are my core values of parenting, right? Through mindfulness, through some meditation, right? Like
Self-awareness.
self-awareness, like all of those things have made me.
When is the last time you heard three brothers talk about mindfulness?
Right?
You know what I'm saying? When the last time you heard three brothers talk about mindfulness and self-awareness?
It's
They learn, because I know how to do that, man. I was about to be down for the count. I was about to be down for the count.
I'll tell you something though, about the hitting the kid or whatever.
Yeah.
There was one time, my daughter, she kept on testing me. We're talking about like 6 years down the road, but she always, when you talk to her, she gives you like this attitude for like no reason. You could be nice to her. Attitude.
Is that your wife too?
No, my daughter.
I'm saying, but did she get it from you?
Oh, no.
Okay.
No. So, I've been holding on to that for like 6 years.
Is it just the culture?
6 years of just holding that.
Yeah.
And, I told my wife, I was like, yo, man, I don't know, man. I don't know. My hands are getting tingly.
Start to sweat.
So one day, my wife told me, you know what, Jose? One day you're just gonna let it happen. You're just gonna pop it.
Yep.
She didn't tell me to do it. Bam, bam. You know what I mean?
Because you want to do it, yeah.
But she's like, Jose, just give it a flick. Bam. So
I
one
feel
day,
like sometimes that's needed, though.
I'm talking to her. And all of a sudden, there goes that damn attitude. And I did it. Poof. Let it. I just whammed her right on the lip.
Yep.
Let her taste her own blood.
In our eyes, it was soft.
Yeah. It wasn't, this way. It was backhand.
Oh yeah, the hard knuckles. That's right. Knuckles.
Say, I like his perspective because that's what I've done all these years.
Let
Communication.
me tell you,
I've never hit my kids.
I felt, after that, I felt like shit.
Yep.
That's my baby, that's my heart. I would never put, she pushed me to that
Yeah.
level. Holding 6 years of that attitude.
And because you didn't know better, that's what happened.
Well, I mean,
We're gonna teach you better today.
There's truth to that, right? It's like that feeling of like even we've all had that remorse and that regret, and it's like I said, I'm not above anything, and I lose my shit all the time, but I think if you had productive and constructive ways to channel that anger that you have as a parent, and it's not saying that it'll work every time, because it doesn't work all the time, but it works more times than not on handling kids a certain way. Like you can't handle every situation with every kid all the same, right? So not every resolution is going to come through the same mode of communication or lack of communication, right?
That's the tough part.
Having
Multiple kids and having to figure everyone out.
Different personalities?
Yeah. And
This one you can slap once, he beat you.
So I share a quick story, a personal story. So because of the job I do, like I walk into houses that sometimes not the cleanest, and I try to keep my house very clean, right? Because clean environment and so forth. So I come home one day and I go in the garage, and my son plays Xbox in the garage and so forth. I said, Dante, I don't want to see trash in the garage. I just don't want to see. So walk in one day, it was trash in the garage. Come in, it's like 10:30, 10:40, 10:45 at night. Had a tough night at work, very busy. Mentally, I'm checked out. I call him outside to the garage, and I said, "What is this?" Pointing to the trash. Excuse my language. I said, "Go upstairs, get me your effing Xbox, and bring it downstairs," because he brought it upstairs. Came downstairs, the Xbox, took it, smashed it. He's on the floor picking it up, and my wife told him, "Go inside." She said, "Demetrius, get outside." say, I don't know what is wrong with you. Don't come in here with that attitude. Look what you did to the Xbox.
Yeah.
And it wasn't necessarily the trash. Like the Capri Suns, the rapper. It was my tough day I had at work, man.
Yeah.
And unleashing on my kid.
Yeah.
And I felt bad, man.
Yeah.
So what
That's
I do,
the
went out,
worst
brought an
feeling.
Xbox, brought a pair of LaMelo Ball shoes. You know what I'm saying? It was very, very expensive.
Did you apologize?
And I apologize.
Okay, good. Yeah.
And I
Yeah,
apologize.
but you know what?
But I lost it, man.
Yeah.
Has your garage been dirty since then?
Actually, that's a very good point. Hey, that's a,
Going back to that.
that's a very good point.
When I did that, after that, my daughter, she graduated, she got her job,
Yep.
she got her own apartment. She never gave me an attitude
I don't
after
know
that.
The Spanish
all of
culture,
us-
man, for some
All
reason,
of
they
us
always
used to
say.
play Nintendo back in the day, right?
Yeah.
It's just an analogy for what we're all talking about. Back in the day, game wouldn't work. Game would
blow it out.
Now that game.
Yeah. Punch out working perfect right now.
Certain times it's warranted, not all the time, but correct me if I'm wrong, because I feel like I'm wrong, but I believe it's in the Bible somewhere that said, disciplining your kids is, if you need to.
If you
I am
know
right. I am right.
Explain when you're done. Like, you're just not beating your kids, turning your back, and that's it.
Yep.
You discipline, beat your kids, boom, and then you explain
Yeah.
what went wrong, why you got this, why I had to do that, and I still love
He
you.
says he chastises us
You know
because
what
he
I'm
loves
saying?
us.
Yeah, you gotta let them know that. Don't just whoop them just because they did something wrong and
Yeah.
you don't like it, but they don't know what they did.
Yeah.
What I like to do is I talk to my kids and, all right, let's say my kid did something wrong. I'm gonna tell myself, all right, they didn't know. We never had this talk before. Since we never had this talk before and I never told them,
Give him a big grace.
they don't know. So we're gonna have this talk. I'm gonna let you know that what you did, I didn't like, it was wrong, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Now that I know we had this talk, I know that you know. So now from here on out, if you do that again, I know we had this talk, I know that you know, and now I know that you're intentionally doing this against what I'm trying to tell you. So now there will be a problem. You know what I mean? But I always, whatever the issue is, it doesn't matter. I always tell them, all right, we never had this talk about it first, so let's talk. Let me teach you a little something about life, and once you know, if you continue to do it, now I know that you don't care what I'm teaching you. You don't care about anything, and it's all disrespect from that point.
I think it's perfect to end this right now, Larry, with his last thing. With the next time we get together, hopefully it's going to be soon, we can talk about the culture of fatherhood and how our individual culture, what we believe, where we came from, affects how we see fatherhood. Anybody have any last words?
I'm Don Cornelius.
No, I want to say one thing.
This is Ron Burgundy.
I want to say one thing. I do appreciate every single one of you being able to be open and vulnerable, because that's not easy to do, especially as a man, especially being raised in an environment where we're told to, not be
Suppress.
emotional and suppress our emotions. So I do appreciate you guys being open. I've certainly learned a lot from each and one of you, and I do look forward to the up and coming ones, because being part of something like this certainly allows me to see different perspectives, and most importantly, it's an investment in my growth as a
All
dad.
of us,
So
yeah.
I do
Man, you
appreciate
take this today because man, I this hearing you and knowing that you're 28, it blows my mind. Because
Yeah.
I thought I was the only one trying this.
Yeah.
Now I know there's a kid 28 years old,
Somebody
10
younger.
years younger than me, trying this too. So it's amazing. It's amazing to see that you came from nothing. You're working your hardest to make it something. And that's the best. That's
This
the
is
best
what this
thing
stuff
we
is
got.
about right here. That's what it's about.
Absolutely.